To preseason or not to preseason? That is the question. Jonathan Drouin looking like the Avs' best player in this preseason so far as the Avs beat the Vegas Golden Knights for their first win of the preseason. Let's talk about it and start the show.
It is the Winners Lounge presented by Toyota and your local Front Range Toyota dealers. And it is the DNVR Avs post-game show. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I'm off the schneid. And by the way, the DNVR Avs post-game is brought to you by our friends at Bet365. Can't wait to talk about them more later.
Did you do that on purpose?
What? Yeah.
Off the schneid, Bet365?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Okay.
That's going to kind of be my thing, maybe. I don't know. Like, well, you're doing all the alliteration cool stuff. I had to catch up.
I know.
I mean, you're cold open. I mean, it's like, come on.
That was sick.
It was so good. He's so good. Gizmo, Rudo, Big E for just a little bit before he's got to duck out. But listen, a victory for the Colorado Avalanche in Vegas in preseason. There's a lot to break down over this, and I want to get a lot of it in before he has to run. But I like doing this first. Just give me your knee-jerk, quick reaction to that game tonight. E.
Love the first period.
Yeah.
Love the intensity. It looked like real hockey. I think the emphasis yesterday at practice was like, let's get down to business a little bit. Yeah. Two fairly good lineups, right, Rudo? I mean, I thought they were pretty good. I thought it was a fair hockey game. I liked Justus Annunen. Obviously, I like Drouin. Like Rudo talked about at the opener there. Obviously, we'll talk about it a little more. I like the fact that the second line wasn't good because my dream of having Mikko with Casey Middlestat still lives. I'm being selfish right now. Other than that, it was by far their best outing in the preseason. I think it's great. I don't care that they won. I just like the process, like we talked about the other night. I really could care less about the score. But I thought, solid effort, solid game by Justus, and overall a fun game to watch. Absolutely.
Yeah, first 30 minutes. The Avs were the better team at an 85 to 90% speed, probably not quite fully NHL regular season, but it looked watchable. Then you spent a 20-minute period where the Avs realized they were leading a preseason game and didn't care very much, but they had that lead with 10 minutes left, and they locked in and made sure to get the win.
Mm-hmm. And again, I just quickly touch on numbers, and I know you'll probably touch a little bit later more on numbers, but somewhere, somehow, they ended up being outchanced 19-18, but 8-4 on the high danger chances. What I'm saying is they locked it down pretty good compared to it's been a little sloppy. That's what I'm trying to say. We talked about it on the opener. I wanted to see a little bit of better 5-on-5 play. We haven't seen a lot of 5-on-5 play.
We got a good amount
tonight.
Of it in this
tonight
one.
We got some. Then I thought that they didn't have that many glaring mistakes that led to high danger chances. That's what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? So
There's one pairing I didn't love, but yeah.
Which one?
Brandstrom and Shillington.
Yeah. No, we talked about that. Yeah. In the watch along.
We'll get to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Why don't we talk about, it's always interesting how to break these things down, but let's talk positions first, and then we'll go through some periods. Let's start back between the pipes. Justus played a solid hockey game tonight.
We talked about it on the pregame, right? And again, even the hockey and the Rockies there that you and I did a little bit. What I said is they're both going to play kind of 2 games each, meaning Georgiev and Justus before the season starts next week. Both of them didn't really have a good first outing. They know they could have been better. Bednar alluded to it at each game, kind of say, hey, I wasn't their best. Now you have 1 game before it counts next week. I thought Justus made it count tonight. I don't care if he would have won or lost the game. At the end of the day, he looked like a goalie. He was sharp. He was in control. Loved it. I thought it was important for him to get 60 minutes where he feels good about his game. I think check mark tonight on the goalie in a sense that, he did what he had to do, and now Georgie's going to have to do the same thing.
22 shots on goal, 21 saves.
How much better can Eustace genuinely play? And I know, whatever. Vegas wasn't playing that hard as preseason. Whatever. You can only play the game you're in. Like I always say, the only goal he gives up is a Jack Eichel bomb from the circle on the power play. What's he supposed to do on
the
that
lobster?
Goal?
It was a lobster.
He's a little sunburned or something tonight. I don't know, but Eustace played as good as you could reasonably expect.
Absolutely.
From your goaltender tonight.
Well, and I think that's what you want. Like, and in Eustace's mind, I mean, this is a guy who I don't think he's settled into the fact that he's going to be the backup. He wants to push a little bit and show, hey, what's what. Georgiev did not have the best game the other night.
True.
Eustace came in tonight, played pretty good against a similar Vegas team.
You're auditioning every day in the National Hockey League. You're auditioning every practice in the National Hockey League. It is what it is. It comes with the territory, it comes with the job. But I thought tonight, like I said, he looked comfortable. Where the other night, he would make pushes, pucks would get through him. You know what I mean? It wasn't in sync. So the game wasn't like kind of on a string. He was more like in pieces, where tonight he put it all together and he looked like a Picasso.
I think people forget Eustace is only 24 years old.
Right.
For a goalie, he's definitely still on the younger side there.
Right.
So I definitely think he should feel like he still has something to prove, and whether he's the starter or the backup or whatever it is, Eric's favorite word, consistency, more important for a goaltender than any other position.
Yeah.
Like
the hardest thing to do for a young player in the National Hockey League is to achieve consistency. Wow, goes for the goalie too. It's hard. Every shot counts. Every shot matters. It's tough. It's a tough league. Guys are good.
Yep.
Moving to the defensive side of things, obviously, we'll talk more about the forwards. I think there's a lot of focus there, but the defense has been such a conversation. Obviously, there's, they're taking 8 guys. We've talked about this. That's ad nauseum at this point. What did we think of the defense tonight? Brandstrom didn't have his best game per se the other day, but leading into it, he had played really well. Good bounce back game for him tonight, I thought.
Yeah, look, I don't think the Brandstrom-Shillington pairing was great, but on the whole, by far the best game the Avs defense has played, top to bottom. Obviously, that's easy with guys like Taves, who was maybe going 80% tonight and looked great because he's just that good. But you got Manson into a game who had a couple of nice plays. You saw some nice breakout plays from someone like Gerard. And even Brandstrom and Shillington had some bright moments where they made solid plays, both defensively and offensively. But the real conversation to me is day in and day out, Sam Malinski continues to earn that first opportunity in the lineup.
Sam Malinski, scored the goal in the second period.
Yep.
A beauty from Kelly and Connor. He looked solid. He had good defensive stops. Who do we think he ends up pairing with this season? Could it be Calvin DeHaan?
I mean, I think for me, all 8 are going to play. So, I mean, at the end of the day, usually, as you know, they always go back to Gerard Manson, Taze McCarr. You know what I mean? So I think you're going to see a rotation of guys in that position. And again, barring any injuries, you know what I mean? That's right now no one's injured. But
I mean, look, am I reading too much into this? You have Sam Malinski, who's a righty, and you have Eric Brandstrom, who they're actively playing on the right side. Feels like swapping those two back and forth with DeHaan on the left side makes a lot of sense. And then Shillington, I'm sure, will get in that rotation as well. But to me, it's Malinski and Brandstrom on that right side and DeHaan on the left.
I mean, that's, again, I'm a big lefty-righty, and I know you're saying Brandstrom play on the right, but I think it's going to be situational. I think it's going to be, they're playing a heavy, brawny team, and there should be some penalties here and there, and, well, let's rely on the veteran DeHaan, you know what I mean? And I don't know, if it's a fast team, okay, let's make sure that Shillington's in that lineup somewhere, somehow, right? I don't know. I think it'll be situational. I'll be depending on injuries, but I do believe all 8 are going to play. All 8 are NHL players. All 8 deserve to be in the league, and guess what? When you're trying to win a Stanley Cup, you need depth. And sometimes, you got to be a team guy. You go in there, and when you're called upon, you go play. And then there'll be times you go play 40, 50 games in a row, and then you might play 2 out of 6 because of a little rotation. It is what it is, and that's okay, but that's how you win in this league. This league is all about winning the last game of the year, winning that silver thing. That's how you do it. If you have 4 deep and you rely on call-ups, then you are in a deep hole where right now the Avalanche are starting, I think, the best position they've been in a long time on the back end, even with the call-ups that we talked about, the McDonald's, the Rosens, whatever it is. They're in great shape. Again, like I said, if I'm Chris McFarland, I'm Jared Bednar, I sleep well at night. Knowing that what I have on the back end is really more than enough to compete for a Stanley Cup.
Just to be clear here, no defenseman is perfect. Sam Malinski had a brutal defensive shift in this game. It's going to happen to everybody at some point. Still thought Malinski was the best of those 3, but nobody's going to have an aces game every single night.
Now, we could ask, and we could call Donnie and see, did he just completely lose an edge there? He fell down twice.
It was
You
tough.
never know. Again, you never make excuses, right? But sure looked like he needed a new blade when he went back to the bench.
Quick swap. How about Girard tonight?
Sammy gives you everything he's got. He's an NHL player. Looks good. He makes things look easy. I think he's looking good. I think he's going to have a tremendous season.
The thing about Girard, and I think the new guys or whatever you want to call the other defensemen should look to emulate in Girard's game on a night like tonight. The Avs are maybe the most aggressive team when it looks to stretch the ice when they get possession in the defensive zone. Mm-hmm. And Girard, every time, bang, 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 hitting that guy at the other team's blue line or hitting the guy in stride at the red line. Those breakout passes are so critical to Avalanche hockey, and Girard makes it look easy.
Anything else that stood out for you guys on the blue line today? I thought they were good inside their own zone. I thought that they forced some things. We had some conversations in the chat earlier about clearing the front of the net to create more visual, advantages for the goaltender. But I don't think they were terrible at that the other night. I think there were some weird bounces, but I thought it was a solid up and down for the defense tonight.
Yeah, not necessarily the defenders alone, but the only real issue I look at tonight is some bad penalties.
Yeah.
You have an ozone penalty from one of your forwards. You have a Shillington penalty that was just unnecessary down in his own corner, and that's the one that cost them the 1 goal. But the actual on-ice defense, very few problems tonight.
But let's not forget about, maybe not tonight, but overall, in these last 10 days, whatever it is, I really like the way Josh Manson looks. He looks healthy. He looks way better than last year in the sense he didn't have a chance to work out last year to get himself ready in the summer because of that injury that he had. So he was always playing catch-up. I do feel that he looks light out there. He looks good. He looks healthy. I'm looking forward to a big year for him.
All right, let's move on to the forward core. Ritchie got an opportunity to play with the big boys. Obviously, the big news, and we'll talk about it in a little bit more depth if you weren't with us in the watch-along or the pregame, was the fact that they released Bellmare from the PTO. So a guy who I thought was a for sure 4C lock is not, which I just, again, blew my mind when I saw that on the plane today. But what did we think overall on the forwards, and who stood out for you, fellas? E?
Well, I'll go first. I mean, I make no bones about it. I'm a big Parker Kelly fan. Now I'm going to get his jersey. I think he's going to become my favorite. Now, I think he got kicked in a little bit numbers-wise. We were saying, like, not the greatest, but I thought at the eye test, I think he looked good. I like what he brings. I like that he's a junkyard dog. I like that he goes after it. Wasn't too familiar with him, even though he's been in Ottawa. I just didn't watch Ottawa last year, not being at the top of the league, really. But I'll tell you one thing. He's impressed me tonight. I like the type of player that he is. He runs into things. He's like a pinball. I think he's going to add a lot to the Avalanche. I think he's a big reason why they let go Pierre-Edouard Bellmare today.
Look, just to reinforce why I think Parker Kelly had a better game than the stats might tell you.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a little bit on the bad side of Corsi percentage. Okay, fine. When you look at the actual numbers, the shots on net, 6-4, 3 against. So he might have been giving up a lot of shots, but they were not high-quality shots against.
That's my point.
Only one high-danger chance against, and he had a high-danger chance of his own on the ice. So perfectly fine. No problems with that as a guy who's probably projecting as your 4C going forward. And more importantly, was his ability to consistently be effective on things like the forecheck, to go in and win some puck battles tonight, which we'll talk about with some of these other guys. The Avs are much, much better on puck battles tonight. And he has, the way I phrase it is he has just enough skill. Yep. He has the ability to play in the NHL, where I think you run into this problem with some of the fourth liners the Avs have used in the past. I think you saw it tonight even with someone like a Kiviranta, where the offense just kind of dies on their stick. And that's not the case with Parker Kelly. He's got enough skill to keep a play alive or at least try and create some sort of an opportunity for the Avs. It's we're talking about 1% difference in some of these guys. Kelly has that 1% to be able to play on your fourth line.
I like it. Now, as far as Ritchie's concerned, he was elevated to the top line. Again, this is not a real Nate McKinnon game. We all know that.
He was cruising around.
He was cruising around a little bit. No offense, and I get it. Why would you? I mean, I don't know. I'm not judging him. But as far as Ritchie, I think he makes a good play on the goal. Right, he wins the battle on the wall. But then again, he goes on the offensive side of things in the offensive zone, and he gets caught on the wrong side 3, 4, 5 times. You're going to have to learn. Like I always say, people make fun of it. People say, "Oh, it's not all play. Oh, all they talk about is playing without the puck." Well, yeah, without the puck and with the puck, you got to make the right decisions. The NHL is a tough league. There's no babysitting. I don't know where. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, what's the other options? There's not a lot of options, and we all know that. Again, it looks like Mac's going to be with. Again, I'm hoping that maybe we get to see Casey with Mikko. Who knows? But somewhere, somehow, they get to tinker a little bit more, one more game, and then the real season begins. As we all know, when it gets tight, we all know what Coach Bednar likes to do. He goes back to his horses and stuff. I get it because it's a safety blanket.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But I'd like to see a little more. I'd like to see a little more from him.
I have some thoughts on it, but I'll get to it in a minute here.
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a second because obviously those guys are in Coach Bednar's inner circle. And you can be part of the inner circle as well with Circle K because you can get a free membership. And it's easy to download. All you got to do is enter your email, your phone number. After that, all you need is your number to get deals. And those deals are there every single day on food and drinks and more. Make sure you sign up for the inner circle with the Circle K app and receive 25 cents off per gallon on your next 5 Phillips, and that's important right now with all these gas prices starting to go up again. So save where you can. Jump on and download the Circle K app and sign up for the Inner Circle for exclusive offers. New offers on purchases, clubs, and sweepstakes are uploaded weekly. Make sure you're part of the Inner Circle with Circle K.
Would you guys say the Avs built a good foundation for their game?
It was nice. A real solid one.
Yeah, nice solid floor.
Flooring.
You got to start with the baseline flooring. When you need to get your floor done, make sure you're doing it with Empire today. They've got you covered based on their tile, their wood floors, their carpet, you name it.
Yeah.
They carry the best products out there. And you can get $350 off your new floors with Empire today when you go to empiretoday.com/DNVR. Make sure you get with them. They're fantastic to use a free in-home estimate if that's what you want. If you want to check it out online first, you can project floors into any shape or size of room. Just measure it out, put in the numbers, and you can see what it'll look like on empiretoday.com. Of course, they only carry the best products. They filter out all of the junk so you don't have to browse through that stuff. And they have professional installers too. So they got you covered top to bottom when it comes to flooring. Make sure you go over to empiretoday.com/DNVR or call 1-800-588-2300-EMPIRE.
Oh, he even did it did it this time.
A little bit.
Oh, I love that.
On that.
We had to say so long to our friend Eric LaCroix for the rest of the night. He's got some family stuff to take care of. The consummate family man and friend, no question about that. Love that guy.
Always.
Can't even begin to say enough on how much I love that guy. But continue on with what you were going to talk about in terms of Ritchie.
Yeah, so Ritchie was a better night for him. Seeing him keep up with McKinnon and Drouin, even if it's them at whatever percent speed you want to call it, good to see. He's not completely overwhelmed by a moment like that. 2, His board battles were significantly better than they were the other night. Not perfect, but you're just looking for engagement from a kid like that. He won a couple of battles. Eric mentioned the one that helped set up the Avs' first goal. He also won a couple of in the offensive zone. He looked more engaged at times with the hard work that you have to do to be an NHL player.
1 assist, 1
Yep.
point. You don't like plus minus, so I won't bring that up. Penalty, we can talk about that in a second.
Yeah,
Played 14
that
minutes
was
of
not
ice
really
time,
a penalty. It's
19
fine.
shifts, 2 shots, a block, a couple giveaways, but
Yep.
otherwise good. Obviously no face-offs, but yeah, I mean, that's a good night for him.
A solid night. A guy who the Avs are going to play him in the NHL to start the year. You're looking at a night like that. I don't think it was perfect, but a guy that you can live with a game like that. I will say there are some habits, some junior habits in his game still that he's going to have to learn to get rid of in the NHL because you can get away with a lot in junior hockey, and some of that stuff just is not going to fly just without looking, throwing pucks through the middle of the ice in the neutral zone or in the offensive zone is just going to result in turnovers. It is what it is. Defensive zone is still far from perfect, but he didn't kill you tonight. You don't feel bad about it. Again, on the wing, that's a little bit easier. Get away with a little bit more stuff there. I think his role on the Avs is still not fully clear. I don't expect him to play on the top line on opening night or anything like that, but he did show, hey, I can at least hang here. This is something that I'm capable of. I still don't fully know what to expect of him when he get into the real thing, but more confidence than his last game, for sure.
He was comfortable and, listen, skated with McKinnon, of course, over the summer up in Vail. And there's some big-name boys up there. Crosby's hanging out up there. Is he going – I think the big question on everybody's mind is how much will he play?
Yep.
Will he play 9 games? Will he stay up? Will he go back to Oshawa? The other questions are, will he play more of center or more of right wing? I think he plays 7 or 8 games. I think he plays on the wing with a little bit of looks here and there at center in situational spots. Mm-hmm. And then I think they will have a better picture of what is happening with the Chuskin and Landeskog and Lehkonen, and then they'll really be able to evaluate, but I don't think they're going to push the pace with this kid because I don't think they have to. I do like the way he plays, and I do think he's a good young man.
Yeah, given the recent setup that the Avs have done with their lineup, I think it's pretty clear to start he's going to be almost fully dedicated to wing. Now, if they decide to keep him past that 9-game test, maybe there's a move to center in his future. But I honestly don't think you can reasonably project whether he's going to stay past that 9-game test or not today. It's going to depend on what he looks like in those 7 to 8 games that he gets. They're going to have to make a decision based on what he looks like in real regular season NHL games on whether this is a guy that they think they can keep and he can help them, or if he's someone that is definitely part of their future but might not be ready quite yet.
And I think the other question is, okay, he goes back to Oshawa. OHL is a wonderful league. I spent lots of years there. He's going to be great in Oshawa. And I think the question then becomes, if that's where he does end up, how hands-on are the Colorado Avalanche with, watching, keeping in touch, helping, pushing? And I think they will be because they certainly had been over the summer.
Yeah, this is one of those guys that this decision I think would be extremely easy if he was allowed to go to the AHL. He'd play his 9-game test and go to the AHL 100%. It wouldn't even be a thought.
Sure.
But with a league like the OHL, it's going to be interesting for someone like Cal Ritchie because he's going to score 1 million points if he gets sent back there, and no one's going to care. That's what he's supposed to do. What Ritchie needs to work on is his defensive acumen in that side of his game, the consistency of in and out, shift in and out, looking effective on both ends of the ice. That's what the Avalanche are going to want him to work on. So, it's just not that interesting of a conversation. If he goes back to the OHL, all of the little details, I'm sure he'll work on and get better at, but from a outside viewership perspective, there's not going to be a ton to really pop off with.
If he goes back to the AHL, do you want him at center? Do you want him on wing?
I mean, I think the long-term plan for him should be at center.
I agree.
So, ultimately, I think center is the spot for him to be. But, yeah, maybe they do convince him to throw it on wing so he can be a little bit ready for an NHL role immediately.
I mean, the kid's committed to it.
Yeah.
I mean, he spent extra time in practice the other day, taking pucks around the rim, working on how to not get burned by a defenseman in the NHL. I mean, he wants it. He's putting the time in. He's asking for the help. He's leaning on guys like Cogs, was leaning on Bellmare. We'll get to that next.
We're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but realistically, whatever happens with Ritchie this year, at the start of next season, both Casey Middlestad and Ross Colton have 2 years left on their deal. So you're looking at the first 2 years, probably Ritchie playing on the wing.
Yeah.
And then, they'll have decisions to make, and maybe Ritchie moves to the middle after that, and I'm sure they'll get him spot time there or whatever. But in the immediate, he's more helpful to Colorado as a wing.
Yeah. And he hasn't looked horrible.
No, like I said, he kept up with their top line tonight. He deserves his opportunity. He's just, how much can he earn once we get into the real season?
He thinks he was crapping his pants a little bit out there today.
No,
I don't know.
fine.
I mean,
He was fine.
Eric's an NHLer, so I defer to him on most things. But he did look super comfortable. I thought he was happy out there.
Keep in mind, and this is true of a lot of high-end prospects, but this is not. Cal Ritchie has played in the World Junior Summer Showcase. Yep. He's played in, for his age, the highest level tournaments you can play entire life.
Yeah.
Not his first time really under the bright lights here.
Pierre-Edouard Bellmare released from his PTO. I found it to be shocking news today. I was on a plane back from Boston, and just, I was shocked. I thought I read it wrong when it came through on the plane. It's spotty Wi-Fi, so I couldn't read the story. I couldn't dig into it quite at all. Our AJ, did a wonderful job. Make sure you check his article out. It's up right now. But I'm still sitting here. Scratching my head on it a little bit.
It's a weird one. I thought for sure he had that 4C job locked up. He obviously was not the case from inside the Avalanche organization. And, I'm okay with it. I think it shows a lot of belief in the Avs with the players that they have, like Parker Kelly.
But why do it then?
I don't have a great answer for you there. It obviously is probably more of a security blanket thing than an actual, like, hey, we're looking to sign this guy. This was maybe Cal Ritchie isn't ready. Maybe Parker Kelly can't play center type of move. The weird part about it to me is the Avs have a clear-cut need for penalty killers and face-off winners in the bottom six of their lineup, and that is what Pierre-Edouard Bellmare does. So
Looked good in every game he played in camp.
So to not have that, they've clearly seen something out of their penalty kill, whether it's Parker Kelly or maybe they think Ross Colton can do it or whatever it might be. They feel comfortable with their options at penalty kill to the point where they felt like they didn't even need Pierre-Edouard Bellmare.
A lot of questions on whether he'll land somewhere else. Not sure if he had any other PTOs. You feel for him.
Yeah, on the personal level, I hope he finds a job somewhere
I do
else.
too. I feel for him. I like Pierre-Edouard Bellmare a lot. Obviously, there's a personal relationship there between the two of us. So that factors into it for me a little bit as well. Obviously, I know you got to kind of separate those things. But I think the thing that he was so cautious with it at the beginning of training camp. And I made a point to talk to him on camera and off camera multiple times through camp just to sort of gauge where he was. Mm-hmm. And gosh, he was pretty careful at the beginning. Yep. And then you could just see him start to feel good, feel comfortable, kind of accept that maybe he was going to be here this year. And then to see that today just kind of crushed me a little bit.
Look, if you're an NHL team looking for a 4C, I don't know how you could. If you watched his preseason in Colorado, why not? Is he going to provide you a bunch of goals and points this year? No, he's not. Just like any other 4C in the NHL. But if you need a role player on your team, I think he's a perfectly solid guy. Like, I actually like the idea that the Avs are maybe shading a little bit younger and making that decision on a purely business standpoint. I think long term it makes more sense for the Avs to look for a Parker Kelly who they gave a 2-year deal to earn a job like that. But Bellmare was not a guy who stood out in a bad way this preseason as someone who can't do it in the NHL anymore. So,
yeah, I mean, that's where I'm confused. And listen, I'm no GM, and I'm certainly no coach in the NHL. So I'll be interested to hear the take of Coach Bednar and whomever else in the next coming days when the roster gets finalized and we kind of sort of dig into this a little bit more. The guys did not come back home tonight. They're going straight to Utah, a little bit of team bonding, building, hanging out. They're going to hang out in Park City, I think, tomorrow. And then they'll play Utah day after. So, you know, it'll be interesting to hear comments from the organization as to what they thought.
Yep. It'll be curious. As the Toyota chat's talking about his skating, is it super high octane Avalanche level? Probably not, but it was fine. It wasn't a liability in these preseason games. And I don't know. Ultimately, he's not an Av anymore, so it is what it is. But I thought he looked fine.
Yeah, I did too. I see Ty's comment. I mean, fine is a good word. I don't know. I thought he looked good. AHL talent, kind of, but he played up against some of the bigger teams that rolled in higher guys. He wasn't like he was behind on plays. His pace was good in practice, but it is what it is. We move on from it after today. We won't talk about it anymore other than just to get a quick comment from the staff in terms of what the reasoning was and what they saw. I'm generally curious, but that is the business of hockey, my friend.
Is.
And there's
unforgiving.
One thing that you can bet on is that they throw the personality out of it, and it becomes a business. And sometimes it is harsh.
No doubt.
But Bet365, you can always count on them to hook you up because they are never, ever ordinary, no matter the moment. Bet365 has some cool stuff coming up for the NHL with some early payouts. With the Bet365 early payout offer, your winner if your team gains a 3-goal lead with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app and use code DNVR365 when you sign up. There's a couple other fun and cool things that they're doing. I kind of got in on one of these. For new customers, you can choose between 2 offers when you open an account at Bet365. You just use the code DNVR365 to sign up, deposit $10, and choose between one of these 2. You either go for the bet and get offer, place a bet of $5 or more, and get $200 in bonus bets. That's what I did. Tell you about that in a second. Or you've got that first bet safety net. You place a bet of up to $1,000 and you get, and if your qualifying bet loses, you received a matched refund in bonus bets. I did the 200. I threw in $10, made a $10 bet. It hit, and then after that, you're rocking and rolling. I've had a lot of fun with it, to be quite honest. Too much fun. Rudo had to talk me out of betting on preseason hockey games.
Sometimes not the best.
But we did throw a little bit on Thursday Night Football, and we'll be betting on college football over the weekend for sure. And I can't wait to get my first NHL hockey bet in for the first time in 9 years.
Let's go.
When the regular season starts. I'm either going to be really good at it or really overthink it and be just brutally terrible.
It happens.
It could go 365 different directions. Make sure you are 21 plus, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right. So when you're betting on games, you might want to be ready for game time.
Oh,
put it
you're
to you
gonna
that
help me
way.
with this, too.
I was going to do the what time is it game time thing, but it's bedtime. It's not game time.
It is getting late. It's been a long couple days.
Game time was 3 hours ago. So when you want to go to the games and actually see them live, you can give us our live viewings of players like a Parker Kelly, see what it looks like in person. Game Time is your way to go. You can sign up with code DNVR and get $20 off your first purchase with Game Time today. Of course, a bunch of different amazing ways to see games with Game Time. They have a new feature called Game Time Picks, which filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. So you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of bad tickets that don't fit what you want. You can get straight to the best tickets available for you. You can see Kale doing it on screen here. You can see where your seats are in the stadium, and you can even see images of where you might be sitting and what it looks like with Game Time. So jump on with Game Time today. They guarantee you the best price for their tickets, or if you find tickets cheaper elsewhere, they'll reimburse your account 110% of the price. So make sure you get with Game Time and use their Game Time Picks system. Download it today. Use the DNVR code to get $20 off. Of course, terms and conditions apply. Create an account and redeem the code DNVR today. What time is it? Game time.
Love that. That's fun. Going back to our game.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about Logan O'Connor. Got to go. It was a 2-1 final.
3-1 with the empty netter.
3-1 with the empty netter. Right, my bad. Getting a little punchy at the end of the night, but I want to talk about O'Connor and I want to talk about Drouin. I thought they both had. Both had good nights. Logan O'Connor has been very consistently impressive for me.
He has.
And anytime a guy gets a deal that kind of locks them up and gives them that security, like OC did,
yep.
You wonder, like, okay, is he gonna just coast now? Not the case. He hasn't changed a gear since he got his deal.
Yeah, you wonder that when you're the new guy who hasn't watched the Avs for the last 4 years.
Got it.
As a guy who's watched LOC for the last 4 years, that thought did not even cross my mind when he saw that deal. He is the picture of consistency in the NHL. You know exactly what you're going to get out of that guy every single night. Preseason, regular season, playoffs, does not matter. And look, based on the second line we saw tonight, which I don't think was great for Colorado, I think particularly early in that season, that third line, whoever it ends up being, whether it's Colton back down at center, Miles Wood, LOC, those guys are going to get leaned on to start this year. You're going to need a little something extra out of them. And look, Jared Bednar loves LOC. He's not afraid to lean on him. Hopefully LOC can show up on both ends of the ice for Colorado.
With the Bellmare move, circling back to it a little bit, what kind of a door does that open for, obviously we talked about Kelly and what it's going to mean for him, and he looked fantastic tonight. What's it mean for, Ivan?
Ivan's in a weird spot. Don't get me wrong. He's played well. I think he's earned every bit of opportunity he's had, but the reality of the Avs numbers game is it's going to be hard for him to start in the Avalanche lineup this year. I think he's earned himself a call-up position. I don't think there's any doubt about that. If the Avs do go through some injury trouble, which every team does every year, would not be surprised at all to see him get a handful of games. Ivan is, to me, he's right here. 1-2% more, and he could be an NHL regular. As it is right now, he's just a little bit short on the skill side of it. He doesn't have that offensive ability that maybe someone like a Parker Kelly does. With that being said, I think he understands who he is. I think he plays hard. He understands he needs to do the forechecking, the board battle work, things like that to make his game effective. And Jared Bednar loves that kind of stuff. There's a reason he's here right now and someone like a Jason Poland isn't. It's tough because I want everyone to succeed. I know I talk critically and harshly about players' skill levels. It's nothing on a personal level. I hope Ivan balls out this year. But the reality is the NHL is so difficult that if you don't have that 1%, 2% skill level, instead of being a fourth line guy that puts up 15 points a night, you're a guy who plays 40 games and puts up 2 points. And that just is not sustainable.
Yeah, and I think you talk about the volatility of the NHL. I mean, there's just so many different things that can happen on any given night, and there's so many guys that are trying for your spot and vying for it.
Yep.
Somebody gets super hot down in the AHL, and you're struggling. They're going to take a look. They're going to move some things around. So, I get it. In the Toyota chat, big thank you to you guys all for
staying up late with
right
us.
now. Are you kidding me right now? You guys are unbelievable. Ty, Laura, Roseman, Wayne, thank you. Yeah, we are having fun today. It's been fun. I'm excited that we're back in the I'm used to like going in the hockey season. And it's been a minute.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of sort of fun to be back at it today. Could have done without the quick trip to the East Coast yesterday and a late couple of days, but it's been super fun. So thank you guys so much for hanging with us. If we think about this from a period-to-period basis, Coach Bednar clearly called out the group. Even though it is training camp, these guys are NHL players. They want to win. They're going to constantly try to win. Called them out the other day for that lackluster effort at home against Vegas. No doubt about it. Practice had some pep to it. This was a different game from start to finish. The first period clearly had a different urgency to it.
Oh, yeah.
And you saw the Avs sort of kind of push the pace a little bit more than what we've seen. You can tell the ramp up is here for the start of the year.
Yeah, I know McKinnon maybe wasn't going 100%, but Jonathan Drouin in that first period,
Zipping.
It's what led to our UCHealth moment of the game, and in fact, our UCHealth player of the game too. Look, that first goal was money from Drouin, and he was great the rest of the night too, consistently generating high-end quality chances. This looked like a guy who didn't want to cruise around tonight. It looked like a guy who was ready to pop off this season. He's writing another sonnet, Shakespeare's 154 of them. He's going to write the 155th. But more importantly, a guy who took a bit of a haircut to stay in Colorado this year.
Yeah.
It looks like a guy who's ready to play like a player trying to earn that next big deal.
You know what? And good for him, right?
Yep.
Like, we talked to his agent, Alan Walsh, friend of the show, and we were in Los Angeles for the rookie face-off. I like guys that want to be in places because it makes them happy. Mm-hmm. It's not all about the Benjamins. I mean, they're important, I guess.
I mean, to me, what's the difference between a couple mil and 20 mil? It's all the same. I don't know.
Exactly, same here. But I think the cool thing is that you're getting a guy like that who wants to, and then you're seeing the effort.
Yep.
And that's kind of playing out on it. I mean, he's happy. He's in the locker room. He's engaging. He's very talkative. It's been fun getting to know him a bit.
Yeah, by far the best player in this game for either team too.
Oh,
it was not close. So
I think the other factor tonight is that in total there was 5 minor penalties called.
A reasonable number.
There were 8 through the first 2 periods the last time these two teams met. So clearly the flow of the game was better, and I thought that played better into the hands of the Colorado Avalanche than it did the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, for sure. You got a real look at what this team might look like at 5-on-5, and a lot of good things to talk about, like Jonathan Drouin, but also, hey, that second line at 5-on-5 might have some work to do. The Colton on one wing, Kovalenko on the other wing did not look great next to Casey Middlestat today.
Yeah, and so what do you think that play is?
I mean, ultimately, I think Ritchie is going to take one of those spots to start the year. I don't think you can reasonably start a 19-year-old kid on your top line in the NHL. Not even Macklin Celebrini gets that kind of treatment.
Correct.
So I think you drop Ritchie down there, but I think this is an important thing to watch through the last preseason game of the year, too, because you need a second line that is functionally effective. It doesn't have to world beat. It doesn't have to be the most productive line of all time, but you cannot have a second line running around with a 35% possession metrics. You're basically abandoning your top guys and saying you have to win this game for us if your second line is getting beat that badly.
We saw a healthy team iced for the Vegas Golden Knights tonight.
Yeah.
Eichel was out there. Stone was out there. Braden McNabb was out there. What's your impressions on Vegas? Just because, listen, I think it's a budding rivalry with this team. But what were your thoughts on the Knights? Eichel looked good. He looked very red, by the way.
Yeah, Eichel looked sunburned. He did score their one goal. I thought they looked just okay at 5-on-5. And, what percentage speed is Mark Stone going at? Whatever. But, look, in a game where the Avs showed out with guys like Jonathan Drouin, showed out with even the guys that were cruising like a Devon Taves had noticeable good plays. Mm-hmm. Beyond Eichel, my takeaway is the Avs are the Vegas' best forward in this game might have been Brendan Brisson.
He looked great.
And then that's great for Brisson earning his own keep. But
He looked great.
Where is the rest of Vegas's forward core? then?
Agreed. I mean, I was impressed by. Let's take a look at. I want to look at Brisson's numbers real fast, actually. Here.
Yeah, I can pull up some of
I
the
mean, whatever.
advanced stats, too.
13 minutes, 17 shifts,
Didn't play a ton, but
shots. No, but when he was out there, he made the most of it, and that's what we're talking about. Obviously, he skates really well. He had some noticeable plays. Like Brisson stood out a bit tonight. No surprise. I mean, heck. He's had the best teachers in the world since he was playing mini sticks at 2 years old. Like, come on. His dad is one of the greatest human beings on the planet, but just an amazing agent to, like, the stars.
Yep.
But, I mean, I can remember watching him play mini sticks with Kopitar in L.A., and I'm like, this kid's going to be fine.
yeah,
like,
he's an NHLer for sure.
I'm like, oh, God.
But I think I don't think Vegas is a terrible team. And if you want our full in-depth review of Vegas, make sure you go watch our full season preview and predictions right here on YouTube. It's already up. You can go find it. But I do think I think they have more work to do than the Avs. I'll put it that way when it comes to their forward core.
They always find a way, though. Man.
Yep, they do.
They always find a way. We'll see what they end up doing. I don't know. Claudia, thank you. You're welcome. I'm loving being here with y'all. This is a ton of fun for me. I love working with this guy and he, so I'm loving it. But yeah, I know. Like Vegas is just that enigma, right? Where you just don't know what's going to happen. Surprised me a little bit tonight. I thought maybe we'd get a little bit more from them, but I think the kick in the pants that the Avs got from Bednar changed things.
They were a little more amped for sure.
Yeah.
And look, it's preseason. Don't read too much into anything. Full stop. Whether it's Avs, Vegas, Drouin, Middlestat, Ritchie, all of it is. Things matter. I don't want to sell it short, but if you score 6 goals or 1 goal, nobody cares in the preseason.
About the halfway mark of the second period, Vegas did turn it back on.
They did.
And it got tight. It was definitely advantage Colorado through 30 minutes of hockey. And then about halfway through that game, it got tight again for about 20 minutes.
Yep. Yeah, it was a good 20 minutes of effort there, where part of it was definitely the Avs were like, we have a 2-goal lead in preseason. We're gonna turn it down a little bit. And hey, rule number 1. Get out of a preseason game without any injuries. Mission accomplished on that front for Colorado.
Now, holy smokes. Good to see Brandstrom, by the way.
Yep.
Obviously, if you've been following along, you know he got a little banged up in practice, but he was
all good.
Full participant today, no problem. Everything's fine.
Very good on that front. But I will say, I think this is where that second line comes in. And look, Middlestat is who he is. No big surprises there. Colton is a guy they're trying to turn into that utility knife player who can kind of play anywhere for them. So I'm expecting a little bit of adjustment there. But I think what Bednar really wanted to see and probably didn't see enough of was Nikolai Kovalenko being effective physically, doing some of that board battle work. I specifically say this because of that 20-minute stretch where Vegas took over. More than anyone else, that second line was the one struggling to possess the puck and getting a little bit buried in their own zone. And they turned it around a little bit in the third period. Great. Good. Better late than never. But all of the stuff that players like Parker Kelly do well, Bednar wants more out of Nikolai Kovalenko, and I don't know that he really got it in this game.
Yeah. A lot of people asking about Lucky in the chat, still in the Twitter chat. Again, it's like 10 games, anywhere between 2 and 10 games, I think.
Yep.
That we get him back. They're going to do it the right way, and same as what they're doing with Landeskog. I mean, at this point, it's like, listen, don't screw it up just because you're trying to do something. You can't make the playoffs in the first 2 months of the season. You could potentially lose the
but the Avs have proven they can survive the regular season off of the backs of their superstars winning them games.
And I think they will, and I think they'll be fine. So Lucky back, yes, that's not an if. It's a win, and it's between 2 and 8 games in.
Yep.
Which, as we said earlier, just in case people are just jumping in, plays well to the whole. See what happens with
the Cal Ritchie timing works out well for sure.
Works out really well.
Yeah.
in regards to that. I actually don't know why I haven't done this yet, but I should have looked ahead and seen where about 9 games puts them.
Yeah, I'd have to check.
Who they've gotten playing, but
it doesn't take a rocket scientist to add up the numbers.
No,
there,
we can do it pretty quickly. Yeah. As you'll learn, I'm not good with math though. But when you
Me neither, buddy.
You can, carry the 2, still count on my fingers. When we think about moving ahead, so as we mentioned, the guys are kind of on the way to Utah now. Short flight, spend the night, Park City tomorrow, team bonding, dinner, hang out. Some team building activities. What do we expect in this final preseason game?
I think the Avs are still working through a couple of things really quick, just because I looked it up.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Game 8 is the end of a 3-game road trip against Utah, and then they come home game 9 and 10, back-to-back Ottawa and Chicago at home. So,
not hard tests. Softball games to maybe just kind of see exactly what's what. That works out really well for the Avalanche.
Yes,
and for
it
Cal
does.
Ritchie.
Yes, it does.
That works out really well.
Yeah, for Colorado, I think you might see a lot of Ross Colton,
Yep.
Nikolai Kovalenko, and Cal Ritchie in Game 6 of preseason,
Okay.
and not even necessarily together, but these are when the final decisions need to be made. The day after their last preseason game, you have to submit your official 23-man roster, and I don't think any of them are going to get kicked off of that roster, but Jared Bednar needs a realistic idea of what he's doing with his second line.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really easy when you get to put Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen and Jonathan Drouin on your top line. Awesome. That's the easy part. It's easy when you have a solid line of Miles Wood and Logan O'Connor said with whoever you want at center between them. But at the end of the day, the hard decisions get made with, is Cal Ritchie playing on my second line or is he playing 8 minutes on my fourth line? Is Ross Colton my 3C or am I bumping him up to be my second line left wing?
Yep.
And those are the types of things that particularly a coach who's been here as long as Jared Bednar, he needs to know what he can rely on in that lineup. And if he doesn't know at the end of 6 preseason games, guess what? You're going to get played less.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is it'll be interesting to see what transpires defensively. I think that there's not much more to be made of the defensive battle because there isn't one now that you know that there's 8 and there was plenty of cuts made the other day. I will be interested to see who they end up playing in that final game. I think what you'll do is you're not going to see Rantanen. You're not going to see McKinnon. I don't think.
You might see Rantanen just because he didn't play tonight, but I don't think you'll see McKinnon. 100% think he's got the night off. Some of the other defensemen will have the night off too. Gerard has played more than the other guaranteed starters.
Perhaps DeHaan plays. Perhaps.
Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if they give the night off to someone like a Middlestad or something too. The established guys don't need another game.
No, and I think you don't, not that you're worrying about injuries. I mean, Coach Bednar made that very clear that, hey, you got to play and we got to do this. It doesn't matter if it's preseason or game 2 of the year. I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, knock on wood. Yeah. But I don't think you're thinking about injuries, but it'll be interesting to see what transpires in that last game against Utah. I don't know as though you need to focus on a win or anything along those lines, but it'll see. I'm also interested to see what the pace is. It should be
NHL pace. Whatever the lineup is, this should be the players that are playing should treat it like a real NHL game, and I think they will. It's not something that I'm worried about. But look, this is a league where you have to be ready at any moment.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say, I'll coast around because it's still 2 weeks to the season. Well, guess what? When their last preseason game ends on Saturday night, the season is 4 days away.
Right.
So
that's insane, actually. I can't believe we're already there.
So, look, you go to your superstars game. McKinnon, do you want to play in this game or not?
Yeah.
And if he says no, cool. Who cares?
Great. Thanks, bud.
If he says yes, all right. Let him go out there and play it like he's playing a real game.
3 stars tonight. Let's start to do that a little bit.
Yeah, we already mentioned Drouin, who was absolutely the star of the show for me tonight. But
is Eustace in there?
I don't think so. Not that he didn't play well, but just pretty easy workload for him for the most part tonight. I got to put Sam Malinski in there.
I was going to say Malinski's probably in there.
Yeah, a guy who night in, night out has just continued to earn his keep in this preseason. He's the guy I think gets the nod opening night. Like you've said, like Eric has said, they're going to play all 8, but earning that opening night spot isn't nothing. Third star, I'm not super sure on where I want to go with this one. I could take a cop-out like Devon Taves, but it feels like picking the stars is just too easy in preseason. So let me go with Logan O'Connor.
Sure. I mean, he played well. Empty netter.
Ended up with an assist as well on the Malinski
points.
goal. It's a good night for him and a guy that's expected to look good in preseason or whatever. But again, to reinforce what I said earlier, the Avs are going to need some nights where Logan O'Connor is a star as they wait for information on Landeskog, on Nichushkin through the first 10 games or whatever it is with Lehkonen. They're going to need him.
Yeah, and I think that you're okay to do that. I think that this actually plays into the hands well for the Avalanche because the timing is just, you know, okay, get Lucky back, make your decision on Ritchie.
Yep.
Maybe you'll have a clearer picture on, I mean, if we're realistically thinking about it, you'll have an answer on Nichushkin.
One way or the other.
One way or the other by mid-November.
Yep.
So that one is just going to, I mean, it's going to sort itself out right up to that deadline.
Yep.
It is.
Which is game 14, I believe.
Exactly.
So.
Okay. The only real question mark that, like, doesn't have a timeline on it is Landeskog.
Yep. And unfortunately, that's just how it's been for the last 2 years in Colorado, and that doesn't look like it's going to change to start this year. So
at least, maybe not to start, but at least the thinking is that there'll be some rev.
There has to be, right?
Right. You fell into the fact last year that okay, you're not going to play.
Yep.
You knew that. You knew I wasn't going to play. This year, at least, you're like, well, probably will.
Yeah.
But how much? When? What will he be? What does it look like?
And we're just so far into this that it's when it happens, and we'll go from there at this point. And if he, heaven forbid, he cannot play this year, you have to be done. If you go 3 years of this waiting game, you can't continue to do it from either side. It's just too much.
And truthfully, I think the leader that he is, Rudo, like he knows he's.
I'm sure he does. Yeah.
He knows he's costing the team a little bit right now, and that's got to irk him. But he 100% has earned the right to take the time, do it the right way, try to make the comeback on his terms. And if he can do it, rock and roll. And if he can't, tip of the cap to you for giving everything you've given.
You tried, yeah.
And you figure it out.
Yeah. Look, I expect him to play at some point this year. We just don't have a clear timeline on when that is. Yeah. And like I said, it's at this point, it's kind of we're out of sight, out of mind until we get to that bridge, and then we'll cross it.
All right, well, we are going to wrap this up. Any final thoughts from the game tonight?
That was a good game. I feel like I could go tell my friends, hey, that was a game worth watching for the first time this preseason for the Avs. So
I'm happy they finally won because I was thinking you guys might be getting rid of me before it even began because they haven't won since I've been behind the microphone here.
You're not the jinx. It's not you.
It's not me anymore, thankfully. Goodness gracious. My ink hasn't even dried on my contract and I got the itches.
Oof, tight.
I started looking for another job. Listen, thank you guys so much for sticking with us tonight. The watch along was a blast. Thank you for being a part of pregame. Really looking forward to being with you all season long. Make sure you check out everything that DNVR Avs are doing. We are giving you legitimately the best coverage of the Colorado Avalanche anywhere. So make sure you're liking, make sure you're subscribing, hit that like button, hit that subscription button. If you're not a diehard yet, please make sure you're doing that too because we're going to roll out a ton of different content throughout the year.
Yes, sir.
And we've got some surprises for you this year too. It's going to be very different than what you've experienced in the past. So make sure you're sticking with us. Come hang out with us at the DNVR Bar on Colfax for some of these watch-alongs. We're here all the time anyway. And listen, to be honest with you, we probably go down and have lunch and a beverage after every podcast anyway. So come on down. And remember, the new podcast time is 1:45 daily, so not 2 o'clock. So we jumped it up 15 minutes.
Looking,
which confuses
looking good.
me on the clock sometimes.
I know. You're working a whole different timeline now.
I don't know what to do. Math. Thank you guys so much for being with us tonight. Big thank you to all of you for being there. Huge shout out to our boy Kale, who was here all day with us, rocking out as our producer. Big E, who had to take off, but we love him and he's amazing. We're lucky to have him. AJ, who is lurking in the chat, and I'm sure we'll have some wonderful written pieces in the next coming days. And of course, my boy Rudo. Great job today, buddy.
Is it tomorrow yet?
It is tomorrow in 13 minutes. So it's still today, but tomorrow
Just barely,
we'll
yeah.
be good. We are off tomorrow, but by all means, make sure you check out the content. I'll have a written piece up a little bit later tonight, if not first thing tomorrow morning. We've been going pretty hard for about 48 hours here, so the bed is calling by name. And then we'll, of course, be back with you on Saturday. Thanks so much for being a part of this. We appreciate you so much. That's it for the Bet365 post-game show from the DNVR Avs guys. Good night.
We all silly like the mayor.